Chase, Citibank, Wells Fargo, Bank of America. Do you know what your bank is up to? While the average American earns 0.012 interest in his or her savings account right now, bankers are secretly funneling their money into little-known 770 accounts, quietly earning between 4.5% and 5%.
It's preposterous. There's no reason every American shouldn't know about these accounts. I put over $50,000 of my own money into these accounts, personally.
This has been a godsend for our family.
No one is telling Americans about the 770s. Not banks, not Wall Street, not the government. In fact, government places incredibly tight restrictions on the advertising of these programs.
Today we bring you inside the world of high finance to uncover the banking industry's biggest secret. A secret account so powerful that bankers have withdrawn billions from their own banks to invest in it. In this special report, we'll show you how everyday Americans have started to take advantage of these underground accounts and how you can do it too. Hi, I'm Bob Irish, reporting to you from Palm Beach, Florida. I'm here today because I've been part of a special investigation that's uncovered what I believe to be one of the biggest banking conspiracies of the last 50 years. The scandal we're going to expose today is so big and wide-ranging that practically every man and woman in America will be affected by it. It involves all the biggest banks in the country: Chase, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, as well as thousands of smaller community banks and credit unions. All told, about 4,000 banks are in on the scheme. But this has nothing to do with banks stealing money from their clients, as they recently did in the small European country of Cyprus. And it also has nothing to do with the big bailouts many of America's biggest banks received a few years ago. No, what we're going to cover today has to do with large, secret transactions that have been taking place inside America's banks for years now, all behind closed doors. These transactions are allowing bankers to earn between 30 and 40 times more interest on their money than what they're offering you, the general public. And yet almost no one in America knows this is happening. In fact, banks aren't talking about this. Not on TV or the radio or in the papers. And it doesn't matter how much money you have invested or how long you've been a client with your bank, they'll likely never tell you about these accounts in person either. In a minute, we'll feature testimony from an ex-banker who told us about these secret accounts and how they work. Because so few people know about these accounts, and because they sound too good to be true, this man even agreed to sign a sworn affidavit to prove what he was saying was true. And what he revealed was shocking indeed. While most Americans, and especially retirees like me, are struggling to find decent yields on their money right now, bankers across the country are secretly using 770 accounts, named after the IRS code that allows them to exist, to earn up to 30 to 40 times more interest on their money. All 100% tax-free. To put that in perspective, that's the difference between earning $100 on your money in the bank and being taxed on this amount to boot, and earning $4,000 tax-free in one of these special accounts. In fact, these 770 accounts are so powerful, some people have even started draining their 401ks to invest in them instead. Here's what one man told us.
Before I discovered this account, I was racking my brain about how to safely grow my family's money. The crash of '08 really spooked me, and we lost a ton. That's when I started searching for a safer alternative and found out about the banker's secret. Since then, I haven't lost a minute of sleep or a single dime. My money's just gone up and is on pace to reach tens of thousands of dollars. I've even cashed out my 401ks and put all my safe money in this account.
While very little information about these accounts ever reaches the general public, one Wall Street Journal article did slip through the cracks a few years ago. Here's what it said. The 770 account, and I quote, has become a tax shelter for the rich. It gives the affluent tax advantages far beyond those available to middle-income people through a 401k or IRA. End quote. The 770 has become a tax shelter for the rich because the money accumulated inside this account grows tax-free and can be withdrawn completely tax-free, without penalties of any kind. But it's not only rich people who are allowed to take advantage of this account. As part of our investigation, we spoke to a pastor from Arkansas who told us his church had racked up over $500,000 in debt thanks to several repairs and purchases. Remarkably, however, within 4 years of starting his 770 account, the pastor had accumulated enough money to pay back over half the church's loans. That's $250,000 in 4 years just by investing in this simple account. But he's not the only non-banker who's discovered this secret. Another person said he made more money in his 770 account in 6 years than he'd previously made in 20 years by investing in his 401k. And still another person said he planned to use his account to fund a $100,000 per month retirement. Naturally, when I heard these stories, I was very intrigued. So I asked Tom, the ex-banker who first told me about the 770 account, to explain how it all worked. To give you a bit of background, Tom is a certified forensic accountant by trade. He used to work at the trading desks of Salomon Brothers and Citibank in London, where he oversaw billions of dollars in trades each day. Tom left the banking world, however, after growing disillusioned with how the banking industry works. It's engineered for the small guy to fail, he says. No matter how much money they make using things like the 770 account, they'll never tell people on the outside about them. Tom agreed to talk with us about this account under condition of anonymity. Here's what he had to say.
When I mention the 770 account to people, the first reaction I get is, if this account is so great, why haven't I heard of it before? It's a fair question. While everyone has been stuck chasing low-paying CDs, bonds, and dividends, bankers have been secretly accessing 770 accounts for years now, safely earning about 5% interest on their money, all tax-free. And actually, when you consider the fees and taxes most investments have, this can turn out to be about the same as a mutual fund that returns 9.2% a year. So why haven't people heard of these accounts before? Well, there are 3 important reasons the 770 has been kept hidden from the general public. The first reason is that the government restricts the advertising of these plans, even though they're 100% legal. You see, companies that provide these accounts aren't allowed to use words such as savings, investment, or retirement plans in their advertisements, even though that's one way these accounts can be used. But on the other hand, the good thing is, you don't have to report these accounts to the IRS. That means the money you have stored inside a 770 account grows and can be withdrawn 100% tax-free. In fact, that might be why the government restricts advertising on these secret accounts, because they can't make a dime off them. As a result, less than 0.07% of the entire American population has opened up a 770 account, about 1 person in every 1,500, while almost everyone in the country has a standard bank account and nearly half the population has a 401k or similar type of retirement account. But the government's restrictions on advertising aren't the only reason these accounts have remained hidden from the limelight. Here's the second important reason: the bankers. Consider this. Did you know that Citibank has $4.5 billion stashed away in their own 770 account? Or that JP Morgan Chase has $9.8 billion? Or what about Wells Fargo? They have over $19.3 billion invested in their 770 account. That's twice as much money as they have invested in the infrastructure of all their bank buildings. It's incredible. All told, more than 4,000 banks have $140 billion invested inside secret 770 accounts. But as a bank client, you're not seeing a single red cent of these higher returns. All you get is the pesky 0 to 1% returns these bankers decide to throw our way. I'm sure you can see now why bankers don't like to tell the public about these accounts. They can make 5% on our money and pay us a fraction of a percent in return. It's easy money. But the problem actually extends past the bankers too. The third reason most people have never heard about 770 accounts has to do with Wall Street. What they're doing right now may really shock you. A contact of mine is one of the leading experts on the 770 account. She works almost exclusively with big clients, including one of America's biggest financial gurus, and even several people from Goldman Sachs and other large investment banks. I recently spoke to her, and she told me that no one in Wall Street has their money in stocks today, and that many of them are invested instead in 770 accounts. Now consider what this means. Here are the same investment professionals who've been telling their clients for years to buy stocks, and meanwhile, they're all putting their money somewhere else. Can you imagine the outrage this would create if most people found out about this? That's why you'll probably never hear your broker mention this investment to you, no matter how much money he or she has parked into it. And while the mainstream media haven't picked up on the 770 accounts, they have started to realize something doesn't add up on Wall Street. Consider, according to a recent Morningstar study, out of 2,257 equity managers investigated, 51% owned zero stake in the fund they manage. And another report recently told how one Merrill Lynch employee got caught in a series of email exchanges calling the stocks they recommend as pieces of junk and crap. It's enough to make your stomach turn. These are the investment professionals most people depend on for their retirements. That's why I got out of the industry, because big banks and Wall Street are all the same. They tell you to do one thing with your money, and then they do the exact opposite with their own money. If you look around, you'll see that this happens all the time. For example, think about the fiasco that occurred with Facebook's IPO. While the average investor got fleeced, with the price dropping 24% in the first 3 days of trading alone, Morgan Stanley blocked important research from getting to regular investors, including many of their own clients. The same kind of thing took place during the financial crisis. That's why it's much more important to look at what the bankers and brokers actually do with their own money, rather than what they tell other people to do.
The reason we dedicated this special broadcast to the 770 account today is because that's what the world's financial elite are doing with their money right now. Recently, a CEO from a Midwestern bank was overheard telling one of his advisors that the 770 accounts were his bank's best performing investment. His bank made so much money with this account that he ordered his executives to put into these accounts, and I quote, the maximum amount that the laws and regulators would allow. During our investigation, we also discovered another banker who liquidated his 401k account and is now putting in $24,000 a year to grow tax-free inside his own personal 770 account. We reached out to the CEO to try and get him to appear on camera. However, when he heard what we wanted to discuss, he refused to talk. But even though the bankers are keeping secret, the key principle, again, is to watch what they do, not what they say. And in fact, it's quite illuminating to see who else has used the 770 account through history. While most Americans have never heard of the 770 account before, the truth is, it has been used by many of the world's most powerful people for the last 100+ years. The Kennedys used it. So did U.S. Presidents Taft, Cleveland, McKinley, Harding, and FDR. In fact, Roosevelt held a substantial portion of his own wealth, $562,142, or over $7 million in today's dollars, stored inside his own secret 770 account. Even the Rockefellers are rumored to have used the 770 to substantially grow their family fortunes. Why only rumors? Well, you see, because 770 accounts are private agreements between individuals and the companies that issue these accounts, it's very difficult to determine who does and who doesn't store money in one of these accounts. That's another reason the rich love it. Many of the greatest entrepreneurs of our time, including Walt Disney, Ray Kroc, and J.C. Penney have also turned to the 770 account to safeguard and grow their wealth. During the Great Depression, for example, J.C. Penney's chain of fledgling stores almost went under. 9,000 banks did go bankrupt during this period, but luckily, Penney didn't keep his money in the bank. He used a 770 account, which by 1929 had grown to over $3 million in value. Because of this move, James Cash Penney was able to save his company, which is now valued at $3.4 billion. I sat down with Tom, the ex-banker who first revealed this story to me, and asked him what you may be wondering at home. How do these accounts work? Tom, tell us how these accounts work.
In a way, the 770 accounts can work just like regular savings accounts. You put money in your account and then withdraw it anytime you like. Your money can also be guaranteed in some instances. However, unlike regular bank accounts, not only does the money inside a 770 account grow tax-free, but it can also grow much faster.
How's that possible?
Well, you see, by law, the companies that administer these accounts have to pay out 100% of their dividends to you and other 770 account holders. This is huge. Because of this, one company that started in 1857, that's 4 years before the Civil War, has now paid out over $64 billion in dividends to 770 account holders.
Wow.
I know. In fact, we studied 8 different companies that provide these accounts, and on average, these companies have paid dividends for 121 consecutive years.
Tom, you mentioned dividends. So does this have anything to do with banking stocks or dividend stocks?
No, not at all. This is a special type of dividend, and the companies that administer the 770 accounts are actually not even listed on the stock market at all. So this has nothing to do with banking stocks or dividend stocks. And that's one of the reasons the 770 is actually much safer than banks.
What do you mean safer than banks?
Well, just look at the FDIC records. That's the federal institute that insures bank deposits. Since the year 2000, there have been 499 bank failures in America. Consider the recent financial crisis. During 2008 and 2009, most equities lost 40 to 50% of their value.
You don't have to remind me.
I know, my dad actually had to come out of retirement because of the crash. We've got his retirement back on track now, so it's all okay.
So how did the 770 accounts do during the same time frame?
Well, in 2008, the market was cut in half. But only 2% of the assets the 770 companies held were affected.
Really?
It's absolutely true, and in fact, people with this underground account actually saw their money grow around 5%.
So you mean to tell me if I'd had my money in a 770 account back during the crisis, instead of being down some 40%, I could have actually grown my money by 5%?
Exactly. Over time, the 770 averages a 5% return per year.
Tom, where were you 5 years ago?
That's why I'm here today, Bob, because this is stuff that everybody needs to know about. The fact this account has been kept so secret has been keeping US retirees poor. But when the next crash comes, at least people won't be able to say they weren't warned. It's odd, really. When you look at it, the average investor is basically the only one left who hasn't been taking advantage of this account.
How so?
Well, corporate America puts billions into these accounts. Take Walmart, for example. They have a 770. So does GE. So does Comcast, Disney, Johnson & Johnson, Harley-Davidson, Gannett, Verizon, and nearly 700 other Fortune 1000 companies have these accounts. In fact, Walmart believes so much in this idea that at one time, they held more than 300,000 separate corporate versions of these accounts.
That's incredible, and this is all legal?
It's absolutely 100% legal. I have multiple accounts myself.
Okay, Tom, but what's the rationale for these companies keeping all this money in 770 accounts?
That's a great question. Here's the thing. These companies have some of the largest executive payrolls around. They have gigantic retirement packages to fund. Comcast CEO Brian Roberts, for example, is owed a $223 million pension over the course of his retirement. But to meet these future obligations, these companies haven't found any better ways to grow their money and make sure it's there when they need it than by investing in 770 accounts.
But Tom, I'm not a Fortune 500 exec.
It doesn't matter. It does not matter. The great thing about this account is you don't have to be a Fortune 500 executive or a banker to take advantage of it.
You mean I can use this account even though I'm retired and in my 60s?
Yes, absolutely. It doesn't matter if you're rich, poor, old, young, married, or single. Practically every person in America can take advantage of a 770 tax-free account.
So we just heard Tom describe how the 770 account works. If you're like me, the question you're probably asking yourself is, how do I get started? Since the government restricts the advertising of these programs, even though they're 100% legal, you have to know where to look. And your banker and broker certainly won't tell you about them either, as we've seen. That's why Tom has offered to prepare a special report outlining the steps needed to open your own 770 account, including whom to contact and what to say. This special report Tom prepared is called the Secret Investment Account: How to Fund Your Own Worry-Free 100% Tax-Free Retirement. This report is not for sale anywhere for any price. It is available to you free only through this presentation. Why is Tom offering this? Well, for one, Tom has now become an ardent advocate for the 770 account. While he does not sell these accounts or make any commissions at all by recommending these accounts, he's now made it his life's mission to help everyday investors get back at the bankers and brokers who keep most people poor. And this is the best way to do it. In fact, after Tom left the banking industry in 2006, he joined forces with one of the world's largest financial publishing companies. Since then, he's helped thousands of investors navigate the markets and make big gains. For example, in 2006, Tom recommended McDonald's when no other analyst would touch the stock with a 10-foot pole. This was after the Super Size Me documentary and other bad press beset the fast food giant. But Tom's research saw things differently. As a result, people who followed his recommendation have now turned every $10,000 they invested into $24,390. And in 2008, as the markets crumbled, Tom suggested his readers load up on Altria and Enterprise, two companies he'd uncovered that were primed for big growth. Readers who took Tom's recommendation back then are now sitting on gains of 157.2% and 217.9% respectively for these two picks. Today, Tom shares his investment research and findings through an investment research service called the Palm Beach Letter, which is read by more than 35,000 people in 104 countries around the world. I went to Tom's office to explore the company for myself. As of this presentation, I verified that 28 of 28 recommendations in the Palm Beach Letter's model portfolio are showing positive returns, many of them in the double-digit range. As a result, he and his team have garnered quite a following. He showed me some of the more than 1,200 letters and emails he's received from readers. It was astounding. Here are some of the messages I read. One subscriber, Kelly Briscoe, wrote in to say she'd almost lost hope with financial advisors after losing a lot of money over the years. "You are the only person I have read that makes sense to me," her letter reads. Another subscriber, Linda M., wrote in to say her portfolio was up 78% in less than 9 months. And here's a comment I found on an independent third-party website from an investor named Richard. "This is the best overall letter I have ever subscribed to," he writes, adding he wished he would have purchased all the recommendation in Tom's Palm Beach Letters portfolio when he first saw them. "I would be well ahead." But Tom told me even though he's managed to help thousands of everyday investors make big gains in an otherwise listless market, he insists the 770 account is by far the most important thing you should be doing with your money right now. More important than real estate, precious metals, stocks, and every other investment you can think of. That's because these are the only investments that offer safe, tax-free returns. and that are pretty respectable to boot. Again, the average is around 5%, which is the equivalent of a mutual fund that returns 9.2% when you consider fees and taxes. And that's why he feels so strongly you review the information about the 770 accounts absolutely free. In fact, he believes so much in the idea, he's now made this his single largest investment, putting away more than 20% of his family's net worth into secret 770 accounts. He's even opened up accounts for 2 of his 3 young children, a decision that will set them up financially for life. His oldest son will have about $4 million in his account by the time he retires. Now, I bet you're wondering, is there anything bad you should know about these accounts? Of course, no investment is perfect. So I sat down with Tim Middlestat, who we featured earlier in this presentation, to talk about this account. Tim now has 5 separate 770 accounts of his own and has since joined Tom and his team at the Palm Beach Letter after seeing the quality of their ideas. He's been with the Palm Beach Letter for the last year and a half and is now editor-in-chief. Tim, tell me, I've learned a lot about the 770 account since I started my research on the subject. Here's what I've got so far. This account pays around 5%, so that's 4.5 times more than long-term income investments like CDs, and that's 30 to 40 times more than regular savings accounts. Also, your money's not locked up. You can withdraw at any time, and it's tax-free. You don't even have to report it to the IRS. I'm sure a lot of people are wondering, what's the catch?
Yeah, I know. I mean, it sounds unbelievable. I felt the exact same way when I first discovered it. But there's a reason this account works, and it's because it doesn't promise you unreal, get-rich-quick results. For instance, you're not going to double your money in 6 months with the 770.
Lottery mentality.
Exactly. There's a lot of that going on today, I think, mostly because people can't find decent yield on their money.
Well, still, a 5% return in today's environment is a godsend for pre-retirees or retirees like me.
Yeah, you're right. But remember, that 5% is tax-free and after the fees and expenses.
Right. Is there anything else people should know about it?
Yeah, so along the same lines, the 770 account works best over time. It just gets better and better each passing year. Of course, you can always withdraw your money, but this works best for people who just want to let the money grow and not worry about it.
Well, what about the stock market? Should I put 100% of my money in the 770 account and forget about stocks altogether?
No, not necessarily. In fact, most people prefer to start small in the beginning just to prove to themselves that the 770 account works exactly like we say it will.
Well, is that what you did?
Yep, Tom did that too. We both started small and then we added more money and even new accounts. In fact, I think Tom's already invested something like $100,000 to $200,000, and that's going to grow to over $10 million over the years.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's the reason why I was completely floored when I first learned about this account. But still, like any investment, you probably shouldn't put 100% of your money in any single one idea.
So, bottom line, people can still invest in stocks.
Yeah, in fact, we recommend a lot of stocks in the Palm Beach Letter. I've got some myself. But you should at least set aside your safe money in a secret 770 account today. For example, right now, I personally set aside 10% of my income to go into my 770 accounts. Next year, I'm going to up that and I'll add a lot more. But I also put money into some stocks and some other investments like real estate too.
Okay, so tell me a little bit more about the report you and Tom put together.
Yeah, sure. So first off, the report's name is The Secret Investment Account, How to Fund Your Own Worry-Free, 100% Tax-Free Retirement. And what you'll find is that this report is short, it's simple, and it's easy to understand. It shows how anyone can get started easily, including who to contact and exactly what to say.
Do you cover how much it costs to get rolling? Because I've seen my share of investments over the years, and oftentimes you need to put down several $1,000s just to get started.
Yeah, good question. We do cover that this investment really was designed for the average investor. You can get started for as little as about $300 or even less in many cases.
Okay, one last thing on this account. How involved do I have to be with it? Is it like the stock market where I'm going to need to check every day to see what's going on, to see if there's been a big sell-off?
No, I mean, and this is the best part. Actually, I have a funny story about that too. Before I discovered this account, my wife's parents asked me if I'd invest their nest egg for them. You know, they knew I was involved in the markets day to day and they didn't want anything to do with it. So they basically handed me $300,000 and said, "Here you are, Tim, grow this money, but don't lose it."
Oh, so no pressure.
Yeah, tell me about it. This was right back in the middle of the financial crisis in 2008, and my wife and I had just been married for a couple of years at that point.
Yikes.
Exactly. Well, I don't need to tell you how the story finished. You know what happened. The markets crashed, but I wasn't sleeping at night and it was driving me crazy. Now, luckily, I had invested in some alternative investments, some of which had gone up. So in the end, they didn't get hammered too bad, but still, I knew there had to be a better way, something that didn't require me to constantly worry or feel like I had to be checking the markets all the time.
Right.
And that's when I started searching for an alternative and finally found what Tom calls the 770 account. I just love that with this account, the money grows and you just don't have to worry about it.
Wow, what a relief.
Yeah, people love it. We get subscribers telling us all the time they're able to enjoy life now, take vacations, play golf, go out to eat, and do so without having to spend every waking moment stressing about how their investments are doing. That's really why we felt everybody should have access to this information absolutely free of charge.
Great, Tim. Thanks. The report, The Secret Investment Account, How to Fund Your Own Worry-Free 100% Tax-Free Retirement, will be made available to the viewers of this program absolutely free. All Tom and his team are asking in return is people give their investment research service, the Palm Beach Letter, an honest look. To learn more about their service, I kept talking with Tim for several more minutes. He explained to me that the Palm Beach Letter's specialty is recommending investments that provide safe, reliable income. A big part of the service has to do with dividends, which, as Tim says, is the only way to make 100% sure you get paid. While dividend-paying stocks have become very popular lately, thanks to the lack of yield around in the markets, Tim told me a big problem today is that most people are turning to the wrong ones. I asked him to explain. He said when they think of dividend-paying stocks, most people think of the Coca-Colas and Johnson & Johnsons of the world. Now, while these are great and do have their place in a well-balanced portfolio, Tim says if you want to maximize your chances of compounding wealth as quickly as possible through dividends, you have to focus on the blue-chip stocks of tomorrow. And your best bet of doing that is through a special class of dividend-paying stocks his team has pinpointed called the relentless dividend raisers. But these stocks are few and far between. Tim mentioned that a while back they'd screened every single stock trading in America. About 15,000 in total, and only 17 made the cut. There were only 17 relentless dividend raisers. He went on to tell me the dividends these companies pay are bigger and grow faster. But unfortunately, most people had never heard of these companies before. They're small and toil away in boring and decidedly unsexy industries. One example he showed me was a company they recommended back in 2011, a small French perfume manufacturer trading on the NASDAQ called Inter Parfums. They had chosen the company for a variety of reasons. It had high profit margins and heavy insider ownership, but most of all, it had 6 straight years of dividend increases averaging 50% a year. Today, subscribers who took their advice are already up 57% on this pick while collecting healthy dividends to boot. But he mentioned there were 5 other relentless dividend raisers investors should be taking a serious look at right now, even more so than Inter Parfums. When I asked him if he could share these with the viewers of this program, he gladly obliged. The details of these 5 relentless dividend raisers have been put together in a special report called The 552% Income Boost, the Dividend Diluvia. This report, yours completely free of charge, gives detailed research on why each of these stocks are primed for spectacular dividend growth over the coming years. After a while, Tom joined us, and we discussed several aspects of the Palm Beach Letter's research business, including what their primary investment philosophy was. 2 things struck me from the conversation. First, it quickly became clear to me that their prime focus is safety. And second, because of this safety aspect, Tom told me people looking for Powerball-like gains ought to stay away from this service. That's definitely not what they're about. As he said, they prefer making steady, consistent gains on each investment. The key is not losing money. For example, one strategy Tom discussed with me involved something he'd uncovered while working at the banks, a way investors could make modest gains time after time. With this method, Tom showed me how I, and almost everyone, can extract money from what he calls the secondary stock market 94% of the time. No, you won't make triple-digit returns, Tom stresses, but the key here is consistency. When I casually remarked to him this sounded too technical for me, Tom said he'd taught his dad this same strategy. Since then, he'd been able to put his retirement back on track. Some weeks he takes home $694, some weeks a little less. One of his subscribers, Brian M., even wrote in to say he'd made $83,000 in 7 months by using this strategy. I pushed him some more. That's when he revealed they've now made money on 47 out of 50 of the full cycle trades they've recommended. In fact, in one stretch alone, he showed me a chart of how they made 33 consecutive winning trades. When Tom saw how intrigued I was by the whole idea, he agreed to offer viewers of this program a free report on this strategy. It's called the Banker's Code, how to make money 94% of the time on the secondary stock market. There's also one other special thing Tom decided to do for the viewers of this program today. Because Tom realizes he can't be 100% sure his research service, the Palm Beach Letter, is a perfect fit for you, here's what he suggested. He'd like you to take the next full year to decide if the Palm Beach Letter is right for you. That means you can take advantage of a full year's guidance, absolutely risk-free, and take the time to determine if you like what you see. You'll get to view 12 full issues of the letter, with a new issue arriving straight to your inbox on the first Thursday of every month. You'll also get immediate access to their full archive of past issues, as well as their full suite of research reports, which includes, of course, the 3 research reports we've discussed in this video, namely the Secret Investment Account, how to fund your own worry-free 100% tax-free retirement. Number 2, the 552% income boost, the Dividend Diluvia. And 3, the Banker's Code, how to make money 94% of the time on the secondary stock market. You can take a full year to review everything at your own leisure. Reread the issues and reports. Send Tom your questions, and even put some of these ideas into practice. Then if you don't like any single thing you read within the next year, just say the word and Tom and his team will gladly refund 100% of your purchase price, no questions asked. As for the price of this service, I was really surprised by what Tom told me. While you might expect a research service like this to run several hundreds, if not thousands of dollars per year, especially when you consider Tom pays his research staff over $500,000 a year for their expertise, the normal price for the Palm Beach Letter is only a paltry $99. That's per year, not per month. I asked Tom why this price was so low. He said that because his research costs are divided among thousands of subscribers across the globe, the savings are passed along to the subscribers. So for $99, Palm Beach Letter subscribers receive 12 monthly issues of the letter and weekly portfolio updates, as well as the 3 research reports we've covered in this video. Now, given the fact that Tom and his team have received more than 1,200 testimonials from happy subscribers, they consider this to be more than a fair price. And I couldn't disagree with them on that point. However, given the importance of the 770 account, Tom has decided to do something even more special for the viewers of our program today. For people who take advantage of this offer today, Tom and his team will knock $60 off your subscription price. That means you'll pay only $39 for a full year of their investment research. But that's not all. Tom told me they're also going to include in your subscription a second complete newsletter, absolutely free. Here's Tom to explain.
When I was first approached to start this newsletter 2.5 years ago, I knew I wanted it to be very different. You see, while I knew I could teach people how to safely make money by investing, I knew many people needed to grow their wealth before turning to the stock market. Because let's face it, if you start out with $10,000, even if you double your money, you're still only looking at $20,000 in total. In other words, investing works best if you have a decent amount of wealth to start off with. That's where Mark Ford comes in. Mark is the partner I started the Palm Beach letter with, and he knows more about building wealth than anyone else I'm familiar with. In fact, Mark has published several #1 best-selling books on wealth building under a pen name. But unlike many other best-selling money guru authors out there, Mark actually made his money by building successful businesses, not by writing books. All told, Mark has been involved in well over 30 different businesses, several of which have reached the 7-figure mark. So Mark knows how to make money. And even better, he's agreed to share his secrets with you too in a complimentary newsletter you'll receive with your Palm Beach letter subscription, called Mark Ford's Creating Wealth. This bonus letter covers Mark's best wealth building techniques, including the fastest way to get a raise at work, how to get out on your own to make a fortune, as well as the $10 trick that changes the way you look at wealth. So in other words, you'll get 2 highly valuable newsletters each month for the price of one. On one side, Mark will show you how to build your wealth daily by using techniques anyone can start using today. And on the other side, I'll show you how to make the best returns on your wealth by safely investing. It's the 1-2 combination that makes this financial advisory unique in our industry. I guarantee you won't find information like this anywhere else.
Okay, I know we've covered a lot of ground here today, so let's recap everything you'll receive with your risk-free trial. 1. You'll receive 12 monthly issues of the Palm Beach letter, delivered on the first Thursday of every month. 2. You'll also receive a complimentary bonus newsletter, Mark Ford's Creating Wealth. 3. You'll also get weekly updates and special announcements. 4. Your special report on the tax-free 770 account, which you should read immediately after you finish watching this video. 5. Your special report on the best dividend stocks to own today, the 552% income boost, the Dividend Alluvia. 6. You'll also get your special report on how to use the banker's code to make money 94% of the time in the markets. 7. And you'll also receive one extra bonus report Tom and his team have put together, a way to take advantage of America's coming oil boom, an exciting development that could make the U.S. the largest oil producer in the world by 2020, outstripping Russia and even Saudi Arabia. That's according to the International Energy Agency. Full details in the report. All this is yours for only $39. And of course, Tom reminded me you'll be covered by the Palm Beach letter's full 365-day guarantee, which means that if you aren't satisfied with anything you receive, you can ask for a full refund, no questions asked, any time during the year. I think that's a pretty fair deal. Okay, so here's how you can get started. There's a special link that should be appearing underneath the video screen you're watching right now. When you click on this link, you'll be taken to a page that again recaps everything you'll receive with your risk-free subscription of Tom's research service. Then at the bottom of the page, you'll see an option to pay for your subscription by using any standard credit card. After you order, you'll receive, within 2 to 3 minutes, all of your free reports by email. You'll also get directions on how to access our full archive of past Palm Beach letter issues and Mark's wealth essays. That way you can start growing your money and investing it wisely as early as today. However, first things first, Tom recommends you read the tax-free 770 report immediately. Remember, this is the guaranteed retirement account several presidents, Fortune 500 companies, and even bankers have used for over 150 years to safeguard and grow their money. As you've seen, bankers prefer putting money here than in their own banks. One of Tom's friends, Mike, is even using his 770 account to fund what will turn out to be a $100,000 per month tax-free retirement. That's why you should consider starting your own account as soon as possible. I know I'm certainly going to look into it after doing this research. Tom and his team have laid out all the groundwork for you to start in the 770 report you'll receive free with your subscription. You can click on the link below to get started.